Well, I didn't know what to do now with my life. Decided to pack things up and go back to Chicago and start back from there. And when I made it back to Chicago, my dad is now a full-blown crackhead. He lost his job with the city and seriously in debt. So, you know me, I got back to doing the negative stuff. I'm selling weed and selling crack and hanging with fools. I'm playing Atari games and Sega Genesis games and I'm making a little money here and there and standing on the corner with my boys. Went to the lakefront with my boys one day and saw this one fine young lady. Had a nice natural hairdo, beautiful complexion. I was just at awe. She's with her friends and she looked at me, I looked at her, and I walked past, I looked back to see if she was looking at me. She was, giggling with her friends. Hanging out in the lakefront was a norm, and then after that we'll go chase some skins with just some coochie, and then we'll sell drugs. Some nights my boys and I will go to the bowling alley. Of course, we get into some fights and go to the movies. We go to the plaza. We just be chilling. One day I was on the corner with my homeboys. I was defending one of my homeboys. I got into a fight, and after that fight, some man in a Bronco truck whistled for me to come over. So I came over and I was like, "You want some work?" Because I'm thinking he a crackhead, want some work. He's like, "Man, you got some nice hands there." Gave me a card, said come down to his gym, which was down the street. I know down the street we were beefing with some dudes down there, and I was like, I don't know about going down there or not when we beefing with fools down there, so I don't know about going to that gym. I go to the plaza, and who I see at the plaza is this young lady, the one I saw at the lakefront. She's applying for a job at a shoe store. So I built up the courage, and I walked up to her, and I said, "Hey, you remember me from the lakefront?" And she smiled, but she looked back at her parents, and I got the picture. I wasn't going to leave without getting her information. I told her my name and I asked her hers, and she told me her name. Her name was Abaya. I couldn't talk to her longer than 30 seconds before her parents took her away, but I hope to see her again. A couple of days later, one of my homeboys get killed on the same corner we sell drugs on and stuff, on Halsted, and I was like, man, I gotta go. One day, Leo came begging on my door. He got robbed, shoes got taken and stuff, and we hop in the car and go find these dudes who robbed him. One of my homeboys used to sneak into his parents' garage and sneak his parents' car out in the middle of the night, and we go out to the lakefront and go ride around. We do that every other night. Brought the car back with the gas hand the way it was when we left, so his parents wouldn't be tripping. I don't know if they ever found out. Found out Abaya got hired at the shoe store at the plaza, and we got a chance to get to know each other a little bit better. Got her phone number finally. Another homie gets killed on the same corner we sell drugs on, and that was enough for me, so I said I'm going down to the gym. So I make it down to the gym and meet Butch. He was surprised to see me. He asked me if I had any drugs or weapons on me. I told him yeah. He took it, put it in a drawer, and said, "That's it, no more." He asked me if I had fighting experience. I said, "I used to box. I'm 4-0. He said, "Oh, let me see your fighting style." I stood in front of him in his funny style. So he said he could pick me apart of all the openings I showed him. And he said, "I'm not no boxer." And he said, "I'm going to take you from square one." And he did. So for weeks at a time training, he gave me tapes. And I told him Sugar Ray Robinson's my favorite. He gave me a bunch of tapes to watch. Tell him situations about my home, too. So I'm not hanging out in the streets much, and I'm going up to the mall a lot to see Abaya and selling drugs a little bit to pay bills. Dad is getting unemployment, and he's doing drugs, and I'm selling drugs to him, actually, so I can pay bills around the house, because that's crazy. Felicia and Teresa still living in the house. Willie Ray's living somewhere else, and Felicia and Teresa's using my daddy from his unemployment and military money. I'm training hard every day. I'm training, sparring, learning my craft, weeks at a time, just learning. Butch felt confident in me and put me in my first match under him as my trainer, and I got into this boxing match and knocked the boy out. Butch was impressed with my speed, my willing to listen and learning, and took me from a brawler to a pure fighter, puncher. I was loving the love I was getting, so he put me in more matches and more matches, and more people would drop. I was dropping them like flies. Now we have a nice little team. There's me and a couple other guys, and I'm getting a lot of attention, pictures, newspaper attention. My pictures throughout West Palm Park. I'm going to win several more fights under Bush, and a lot of them by stoppages. The ref stopping the fight because I'm beating their butt so bad. I'm coming to the gym a little stressed out because of the situation at home, my dad, and the drugs and the crack and all that silly shit. So I had to be honest to my coach and told him I'm still selling drugs a little bit to keep the roof over my head and pay bills because my dad is not doing it. Butch gave me some money to take care of some bills and didn't want me to get caught up with the drugs and stuff. So that was good. Yet I still was selling drugs because it just needed more. We need to keep that house because we was on the verge of losing the house too. I think my grandma and my dad's side of the family planned an intervention and came by and kicked all the crackheads out of the house. My dad wasn't doing right, so he became a black sheep pretty much to the family. That Wells curse, which kind of fell upon me as well. So I'm fighting under stressful situations, fighting these little local tournaments and still dominating. Abaya and I are now good friends. We're talking a lot. She asked me if I was a dope dealer and gangbang, and I told her no. Abaya and I talking on the phone all night, tying the lines up for people to call in. We just talking, chopping it up, enjoying each other's conversation. I was having a lot of feelings for her, and I want to tell her I love her, but I remember I told somebody else I loved them before, and they ran, so I was holding back me telling her I love her. Abaya and I will go to the Museum of Science and Industry together. We go to the pizza joint together, but we didn't really have an official title yet. I couldn't get no fights no more in Chicago. Couldn't get no fights in Indiana, so there was a fight down in Florida and told Abaya I was going to be going down to Florida. Go down to Florida to fight, and it was just pretty much the same thing. So I ended up fighting out of my weight class this one fighter. So I ended up fighting Tony, and he was a big name down there doing this thing, and we ended up getting it in. We squabbled, and I beat the hell out of him actually. Yeah. Fighting Tony was a good fight. It was a hard match. He was a southpaw, and at the end of the fight, they gave it to him. I remember at the end of the fight, he said, "Man, you won this fight though," and I was like, "Yeah, I know. It's all good though. I ain't tripping." But I was hurt though that they took my goose egg. I kind of cried to myself a little bit because that loss was like I wanted to win that, but I was out of my weight class anyway. It's all good. Butch told me to keep my head up, don't worry about it. He said, I'm a better fighter anyway, so I just took that to heart and kept training hard. Abaya, she was happy for me anyway. She said I'm still a winner in her book. That made me feel good, and I even trained even super more hard. We got a notice on the door about our eviction. We got to get the hell out soon, and that was crazy. So I'm over here moving dope real quick, like, man, I'm messing around and selling drugs, and I'm kind of sticking away from boxing a little bit because I'm focused on trying to keep a roof over my head. And Butch is mad. I'm even selling drugs in the Abaya's neighborhood, and Abaya found me selling drugs. She was mad at me, and I told her I wasn't a dope dealer, and she was really upset. Abaya didn't want to talk to me no more for a little while, and it was kind of rough. I didn't talk to her for a few days, I guess. Couldn't get no fights still either. Abaya's been acting strange lately. And when I come up there to see her, she didn't want to talk to me, and I was like, she was still mad about the drugs. We finally talked, and I told her my situation. She said there's other ways I can go by doing it instead of doing that. So we did talk just a little bit, but she was still mad. But I could sense something was still wrong with her, but she's not telling me. So I had to keep prying, but she said don't worry about it. So we went on with our day. Now I'm sparring more now. I'm training still hard. My cousin's in the gym. His name is Machine Gun Wilson, doing his thing, and we just doing it. Me and my cousin Machine Gun Wilson used to spar a lot. His name was Machine Gun because his hands was super fast, faster than mine. He was beast. But Machine Gun Wilson had a whole dark story in his life. He's on a mission too, you know. He was a former gang banger and all that too, but just trying to find boxing. Yeah, we smoked weed together and all that stuff like that. But boxing was our love, and boxing saved his life like it saved mine. I had a pager on me, and Baya sent me this page with this distress page, and I looked at it, and I was like, So I called her, and she didn't answer. So one night, Abaya calls me and tells me that her ex-boyfriend has been messing with her and harassing her at her job. So Abaya dated this dude named Ron. He was a dope dealer, gang banger, and all that stuff like that. And she didn't want to deal with him, but he was highly in love with her. Still hadn't had a fight yet, you know, in a lull of my boxing career, and I'm still trying to get to the bottom of this Ron thing. I go to the mall one day and I see Ron and his crew up there at the shoe store messing with Abaya. Well, he's messing with Abaya, and I step to him.